GTO, Grand Touring cars with engines over 3 liters in size, capable of speeds of over 170 miles an hour. This is one of the GTU machines, production-based cars with engines of less than 3 liters, speeds over 140. The red car is a full-on racer, a prototype made strictly for track competition. In IMSA racing, they call them Camel Lights. Today, these classes will be running head-to-head with the GTPs, the exotic 200 miles per hour plus racers like this Porsche, piloted by Al Holbert. Holbert, 3 times he's won the IMSA GT Championship, and today he's shooting for number 4. ESPN, now in its 7th year as your #1 network for motorsports, presents Auto Racing 85. You're looking at a panoramic view of the pits at Pocono. This is where a lot of the action takes place. Tire changes, refueling, repairs, and strategy. A lot of the big-time activities in auto racing take place right here. Welcome to Pocono International Raceway, Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Hi, everybody. I'm John Burchard, standing alongside my colleague, the veteran IMSA racing driver, Bob Bergstrom. This is the 14th round of the 1985 IMSA GT Championship. And Bergie, what kind of activities and problems can we expect here today?
Well, in this race today, John, you have to realize we have 4 categories in the same race, and there is going to be a potential for some big problems. The top category, the GTP cars, are going almost 205 miles an hour in the straightaway. The best of the GTU cars are going about 150, 50 to 60 miles an hour speed differential. And as you know, in road racing, they sometimes end up in the same spot at the same time. With that speed differential, we should have an interesting afternoon.
And covering all of the interesting activities along pit row will be another of our colleagues. He too is a racing driver and also an automotive journalist for Motor Trend magazine, Mike Brockman.
John, I think this track is unique for a couple of reasons. First of all, you've got the high bank 16-degree turn. Now, these GT cars don't normally run on this kind of track, and the high bank is going to be really tough on the suspensions and really tough on the tires. Secondly, you have the infamous turn 1 here at Pocono. What makes it unique is the cars are at maximum speed and have to funnel down from a 6-lane speedway to a narrow 2-lane road course. To make matters worse, right at the apex of this bumpy turn 1 is the exit from the pits. Now, this is without a doubt going to be the busiest part of the racetrack. In my opinion, the place to watch. Back to you, John.
Okay, Michael. Now let me introduce the newest member of our announce team. Steve Grad will be covering the personalities and some of the stories behind the racing action along pit lane. Steve?
Thank you, John. Among the personalities, Al Holbert. He's a big story today. Al needs only to finish 4th or better, and he takes the IMSA overall points championship. Also, Peter Halsmer. He's at the pole position. It's the first time the BF Goodrich team has the pole position. It'll be interesting to see how they do. Plus, we'll give you a lot of behind-the-scenes stories. Stories you don't normally get to enjoy in racing coverage. It'll be a fun afternoon. John?
All right, Steve. Now let's check the points. The sun has burst through the clouds. We're getting ready for the start.
43rd.
Drivers are strapped in, helmets in place. The pace car poised to roll out on the pace lap to get us underway for the 14th round of the 1985 IMSA GT Championship here at Pocono. We had an opportunity to talk a little bit earlier with some of the people who are important in this race today.
Pete, it's your first pole of the BFG car. It's got to be a great feeling.
That's true. We're really happy about it, Mike. We're looking forward to the race.
Good. Any strategy for the race?
Well, we're going to go out and see how well we can run and see how hard we can run and be reasonably easy on the equipment and then see where that puts us, where everybody else is, and we'll go from there.
Good luck, Pete.
Thank you.
Now to Steve Grad with another report.
I've got Al Holbert. Al, you're so close to the overall championship. How much does that play into your mind?
Well, probably more than it ought to. I'd like to take every race as it comes and just try to win each one. And if a championship comes along, that's a bonus. But I think when you get in a situation, you can't put that totally out of your mind. So I think that I'm just going to have to force myself to consider that this is one race and one race at a time to win.
Al, good luck today.
Thanks.
The field is underway, moving out along pit lane. Colorful cars in the sun here in Pennsylvania. You wouldn't believe there was a downpour earlier. Now it looks great. Track is drying off very nicely. One of the Pontiac Fieros rolls by. Everybody is underway. Now let's take a look at the starting grid. On the pole with a record, Pete Halsmer and John Morton. Next to them, Al Holbert and Derek Bell in another Porsche 962. Drake Olson and Rob Dyson, then John Paul Jr. exciting in this weekend performance with a March Buick. Bob Wallach and Mauro Baldi. Bill Adam and Whitney Gans in the other March Buick. Jim Busby and Rick Duke, followed by Bob Tullius and Chip Robinson in the Group 44 Jaguar. The other Jaguar. Then the smaller engine car, the 3.9-liter Alba. Don Devendorf and Tony Adamowicz in the Nissan, followed by the first GTO machine driven by Darren Brassfield, the Thunderbird. Craig Carter and Billy Sivers co-driving in the Camaro. Then we have Pierre Honegger and David Loring in the first Camel Light machine. Marshall Robbins and Bruce McInnes. Roger Mandeville rounding out the top 20. Here is the rest of the field. They're moving for the first time out onto that long straightaway.
That's right, and of course at this point the drivers are looking at the track. They're looking to see if there's any standing water from this morning's rain. That's the kind of thing they have to avoid. You see Pete Halsmer scrubbing in tires. This on the long 3,100-foot back straightaway going into the big sweeping turn at Pocono Raceway. Here's a good look out of Jim Busby's BF Goodrich 962 Porsche. You see that hose coming up there? That's to bring a little bit of cool air into the cockpit. It's been very, very hot in practice. Very, very warm. It's cool this morning, but I think it's going to heat up. We've got a long race, and these drivers are preparing for the worst. Here's a good shot at the bank. 16-degree banking. These 962s can go through this bank almost flat out. They're reaching a terminal velocity in this bank of about 190 miles an hour. In every driver's mind, there is the thought of a possible mechanical failure. If something happens, you go up into that wall on the right side or down into the infield.
We're looking to see if the pace car will be pulling down off the racing surface, and he's headed in that direction. Out onto the straightaway for the first time. The pace car is pulling off. They're under the control of the starter now. He's looking him over. Looking him over. We're out of shape.
Oh, my gosh.
But we are still getting a start. The green flag, and into the lead goes John Paul Jr., followed by Pete Halsmer.
That was an unbelievable start. The starter gave him a green flag, and it looked like the scramble system into the notorious turn 1 of Pocono International Raceway, down into the infield, a tight, twisty turn, hard left turn, second gear.
The two Buicks are 1 and 3. Whitney Gans is in third place right after Pete Halsmer.
That was a fantastic start that Johnny made. Really good. He had that Buick Turbo V6 spooled up and is pulled out, and that looks like Pete Halsmer riding his tail.
Coming to the end of the infield portion before they climb up on the tri-oval once again.
A hard second gear turn going onto that back straight. Now, this racetrack, which is used for NASCAR races, they use one entire back straight and part of another one. This is about a 4,000-foot long straightaway. Right now, you're seeing them move up into about 180, 190 miles an hour.
Look at John Paul Jr. fly down that straightaway. That Buick engine puts out more horsepower than any other on this course, and look at him go. All right, now let's go down to Mike Brockman. How was the start, Mike?
I don't know what it looked like from your vantage point, but from my vantage point, there were about 10 cars wide. I'm kind of surprised they got the green flag, but that's motor racing.
John Paul Jr., Pete Halsmer, Whitney Gans, and Al Holbert, the top 4, followed by Drake Olson as they scream down into turn 1 once again. Holbert has moved now into third place. He got by Whitney Gans in that turn. Good driving on the part of the near champion of IMSA this year.
That's an awfully good start that Whitney Gans had to move that car up into 4th position. They've been wrestling with that car for the last year and a half. The car that John Paul Jr. is in, that number 46 Buick, which is actually a March chassis, they call it a March Hawk, has a new suspension on the front end. It handles considerably better than Whitney Gans's car, number 45. There he is onto the back straight. The Buick V6 horsepower comes into play as it pulls out a little bit ahead of Pete Halsmer. Let's see if Pete Halsmer can close the gap. Pete wants to run up front as long as he can. He likes this. He's never been in that position in IMSA racing before, but right now he's not going to be able to do it. John Paul Jr. is holding the decisive lead in the start of the second lap.
Don Devendorf has already visited the pits one time after his 11th place start. He's back out once again.
Now, Devendorf has had a little bit of problem with this Nissan GTP car. They're working on a lot of new ideas, new developments.
Pete Halsmer going by John Paul.
Down into turn 1.
Pete Halsmer takes over the lead. John Paul dropping back just a tad, and Al Holbert is right up his exhaust pipe. Now for a report on the Devendorf pit stop. Let's go down to Mike Brockman again.
I've just got a report from Don Devendorf's crew chief. I tell you, I believe this car is snake bit. They have problems like you can't believe. The passenger door came open, so Don was forced to come in on the very first lap.
That's a shame. They had an accident in practice, and they had real problems with a wishbone breaking that blew a tire and destroyed some of the rear suspension.
Here's a good shot, though, John. This shows you what the GTP cars are able to do in the speed differential between them and the slower cars.
We'll be back with more of the action here at Pocono right after we pause for these messages. And into the first turn we go. Pete Halsmer out in the lead. The pole sitter had dropped back to second place behind John Paul Jr., then took over the lead again. Now he is threading his way through the back markers. They're already lapping slower traffic.
This is our time to be careful. Remember, this race goes for a long time. He's got to run hard. He's got to run fast, but you don't dare pass the car unless you're sure he sees you. But you can't be too cautious because right behind him is Al Holbert. Al Holbert does not like to follow. He'd like to get a little bit closer to Pete Halsmer. Good shot at Group 44 car in the pits for an unknown reason. Bob Tullius and Chip Robinson.
Tullius was aboard for the first stint. Appear to be looking at the right rear.
Looks to me like they're not sure what's the problem here. They're opening up the door. It looks to me like they're going to have to talk to Chip and find out what's going on, what's happening.
Meanwhile, back to the action. Off that 16-degree banking comes Pete Halsmer one more time, screaming past the slower cars.
Pete Halsmer's got that car set up nice, John. Have you noticed he's able to go up high in the bank? He's able to go low. It doesn't look like it makes any difference where he has to go, but he can go around those slower cars with ease. Looks extremely good and very comfortable out there. Pete has not had the opportunity to lead a lot of IMSA races, but I'm sure he's enjoying himself today. This Pocono racetrack is an interesting racetrack for the Goodrich team. Goodrich has been one of the fastest cars in the straight all year long. At this track, which is 5/8 of this racetrack, is on the straight. The BF Goodrich tires have obviously been very, very fast. In every practice session this weekend, Halsmer has been either first or second, so his being first in qualifying was no fluke. They did it. They got the car set up, they're running fast, and they want to stay out front. But look how close Al is. The old pro, Al Holbert. Here we go.
Sneaking up, sneaking up.
Remember, Holbert has quite an advantage following there. That draft of that other car helps him. There are boost gauges in these 962s. They can dial the boost up and add a little bit of horsepower. They go by Chris Cord in the Toyota Celica, who is probably running second GTU now into the big bank. Down below one of the Pontiac Heroes, down below the yellow line. You NASCAR guys know how hard that is to do. It shows how good these cars were set up.
Down the front straight they come. Looking to the inside.
Oh, there's that turn 1 and what slow traffic can do. You see what happened? He got Roger Mandeville in between the two of them, and that gives Pete Halsmer a little bit of breathing room. Now he's behind number 29. Now Pete has to get by him.
Now down to Mike Brockman along pit lane.
I just spoke with Chip Robinson, Bob Tulis' co-driver, and he said they had got a mysterious oil leak. They don't know where it's coming from. There's more motor oil all over the interior of the engine compartment. They're looking for the problem now.
Pete Halsmer holds on to the lead. He's stretched out a little bit over Al Holbert in traffic.
As we were talking earlier, John, notice how traffic is playing such an important part. After the third lap, they're starting to lap slower cars. And even though this car we're looking at has 650-700 horsepower, it doesn't help when it comes up behind a slow car. They get off the boost in the turbo, the engine drops way down in horsepower, and then they have to get that turbo spooled up again and get it going. They're very hard to drive in traffic in a very tight course with slow traffic in front of you. Good shot of Pete Halsmer entering that 3,100-foot long back straight. Remember, as I mentioned earlier, the back straight plus the turn plus the front straight on this racetrack is probably close to 7,000 feet. Is that the Nissan? Is that a black car?
Looks like it.
Well, it obviously is a black car, but I'm not really sure. We don't want to call that definitely. That is. That's Don Devendorf, Tony Adamowicz, number 83. I can't believe it. This car has had nothing but bad luck. They broke a suspension piece in practice. They had a problem in the first lap. They've had nothing but trouble in every single race this year. It's a real shame because this is a high bucks effort. They're putting a lot of money into it. Tony Adamowicz and Don Devendorf are talented drivers, but it's just not working right for them. Looks to me like Donnie's a little bit shaken up, wouldn't you say, John?
Yes, indeed. And the safety car is waiting at the exit to pit lane to pick up the leaders. That car is not in a safe place. They will have to move it. So that means we will go under a course wide yellow very shortly here.
Don's not the kind of guy that jumps up and dances in the pits. He's not a guy that always is a very expressive individual, but the way he crawled over that wall, I think he might be hurting. Another yellow flag.
We'll be back with more of the action at Pocono. Do we pause for these messages? On green after a long yellow flag session. And going into the first turn is Al Holbert, closely followed by Pete Halsmer.
Okay, Al Holbert's taken over the lead in that last yellow flag situation. Al Holbert had the lead just at the point of the Devendorf crash, and he is now leading the Porsche 962 of Pete Halsmer, running very, very close in the infield, the tight, twisty portion of the Pocono racetrack. Al Holbert followed by Pete Halsmer.
And the other BFG car is right behind him with Jim Busby at the wheel. Out of the infield portion, up onto the tri-oval once again. Now they approach top speed.
John, there's an interesting situation. These cars have been running under yellow for a little while, so you've had a situation where the tires have had to cool down. This is where a lot of driver experience comes in. You can't go into that bank flat out too fast because the tires have not come up the temperature. The car looks like it's going fast, but I'll guarantee you Al is being a little bit tentative. Pete Halsmer behind him the same way. Remember, both these drivers have a lot of kart experience. They both become very accustomed to going very fast through these turns. 190 miles an hour, 205 miles an hour as you're seeing right there. It doesn't bother them too much. They're accustomed to that. Looks like John Paul Jr. moved down into fourth position. Good shot of Al Holbert rounding turn number one. Notice how narrow this track is. This is a very, very new part of the racetrack. It's very narrow. There's not much room for passing. All you can do is close up in a guy, but it's almost impossible to get behind him.
Jim Busby in third place, right behind his teammate, Pete Halsmer. A good view from inside a Porsche 962. Around the infield portion, heading for the banking, the tri-oval once again after this turn.
There's that hard second gear turn onto the back straightaway. This is a 4,000-foot long straightaway where they get up to maximum RPM. There's Al Holbert out in the lead. That's about a 1.5 second differential between him and Pete Halsmer, and about a 1 second differential back to Busby.
Now let's go down to Steve Grad and a feature with Rob Dyson and his son Chris.
You know, racing sometimes is a family affair. This is Rob Dyson, but this is 7-year-old Chris. Chris, what do you want to be when you grow up?
A race car driver.
I wonder who influenced you. Rob, let me ask you, you know, this is a glamorous yet dangerous profession. Do Chris and your family come to mind when you're going around that track at almost 200 miles an hour?
Well, no, really. You're pretty busy out there, so you got to take care of things that are probably the job at hand. So, actually, no.
You want him to be a racer?
Well, I want him to do whatever he wants to do as long as he does it well. You know, it's a great sport, I'll tell you that.
All right, you proud of Dad?
Yes.
You bet. Rob Dyson and 7-year-old Chris in the pits, back upstairs.
Yeah, it's still the early portion of the race. And they are getting back into lap traffic once again.
The way IMSA runs Pocono, we're going just the opposite of the way the NASCAR cars go. So those of you people who follow IMSA motor racing and looking at this track, you think, oh, there's a good shot. Down the start-finish straightaway, a little bit of traffic. Down off the oval into that tight #1 turn.
They really have to get onto the binders there.
Ooh, yeah,
that's a very important place.
Very, very important. Braking is a critical part of the racing.
Stopping power, that's the name of the game. A little bit earlier, Bergier came across an idea which shows the comparison between racers and passenger cars.
In all kinds of road racing, braking is all important. Here is a pair of brake pads, or a brake pad off your street car. It's small, it's fairly thin. It stops your street car and it does a pretty good job. It has 5% metal content. Here is a brake pad off a racing Porsche, 3 times as big, 3 times as thick, and 25% metal content. This brake pad needs to be hot to work. The metal content allows it to last a long time. Stop the car quickly, get it going fast. That's what road racing is all about.
And there on the banking is Al Hulbert getting by the slower traffic. And we have car number 50, Terry Bisker, out of the machine. That Pontiac Fiero apparently finished.
Terry Bisker was running 2nd place in GTU in that. It looks like Halsbert's getting down inside. Al, he did. He made it. A good, smooth, clean pass down into turn 1. Did you notice how the cars jump around in that heavy braking area? As I just showed you a minute ago, braking is it in this sport. The cars can go fast, they can handle good, but if you can't get them stopped, you can't win. Well, these 962s all have identical brakes, so Halsbert's brakes are no different than Al Holbert's brakes, are no different than Busby. At that moment, that was Pete Halsbert's driving skill. Not that he's better than Al Holbert, but I think he wanted that position a little more than Al wanted it.
I think he might have surprised him a little bit with that move.
Yeah, I don't think Al expected that, but after all, it's early in the race. It doesn't mean a whole lot, but it does make you feel good. Halsberg knows he can do it. He knows he can pass him. He knows he can run up front, and he's staying there. And that's a terrific feeling for a driver when you know your car's handling and things are working.
We'll be back with more of the action here at the IMSA event at Pocono right after we pause for these messages. Looking at Jim Busby being pursued now by Bob Wallach in the other Porsche 962. Jim Busby very busy, and Wallach spins.
Wallach got a little bit aggressive there. Wallach was all over Busby, following him hard. This is something you almost never see Bob Wallach do. One of the greatest sport car racers in the world, twice winner of the Porsche Cup. Those of you that follow skiing, Bob Wallach was on the French national team the same era as Jean-Claude Keely, Michel Arpin. He was one of the best ski racers in the world, and he has become one of the best motor racers.
Now let's go down to Steve Gradle on pit lane.
I have an injury report on Don Devendorf. He's been taken to NPW Hospital near Wilkes-Barre. It's for observations. He's got contusions, and they think fairly serious ankle injury is the latest report we have. So Don Devendorf taken to the NPW Hospital near Wilkes-Barre for observation. Gentlemen.
Thank you, Steve. That's the 3rd place man, Jim Busby, teaming with Rick Duke, as he has most of the season.
Okay, Jim Busby now's got a little bit of breathing room. You know, a little while ago we saw Bob Wallach right on his tail, and that's difficult because when you're being pursued, you can't drive the same driving line you'd like to. You're trying to keep the guy behind you from passing, so you can't go quite as fast as you normally would. But Busby's got some breathing room now, and he can go as fast as that car will go. Whereas up in the 1st and 2nd place, those two guys are battling each other. Busby's free to run almost any line he wants, and here's a good shot inside the camera down low on this bank. Now remember that bank that carries raise the car up that wall on the left side. Now you're getting a good shot about 200 miles an hour. We clocked some of the cars at 205 miles an hour, and Jim Busby's car is probably moving a good 200 miles an hour down into this turn one. And here's a good shot coming up in one of the slower cars in front of him. It's Chris Gordon, the Toyota Celica, who right now is running pretty good. But Busby is looking good, running a very strong third early in the race.
We had a chance to meet Jim Busby at his very happy home base out on the West Coast. Here's what he had to say to us. This is a setting that seems light years away from the roar of engines and the cheers of the crowd. This is the marina at tranquil Newport Beach, California, Jim Busby's home base. This is where Jim trades a racing line for his fishing line. We asked Jim whether fishing is really an important diversion for him.
I think that probably is my #1 love. I don't know if I like it because I can get away from the telephones on the boat and get out there and be an hour from anybody that could give me any trouble at all, or whether I truly love the fishing. I think it might be a combination. I think maybe you have to love the boat because you don't catch very many fish. But I'm delighted with fishing. That's my #1 pastime when I'm away from racing. The first actual organized racing that I did was drag racing. School was not my #1 interest at that point. Automobiles was it for me. And I pretty much knew that I would do something with that right through as a career.
Make no mistake, the BF Goodrich IMSA team is Jim Busby. He combines the careers of racer and businessman.
I really enjoy what I'm doing, and it seems that I'm doing very well at it on a regular basis, and I love running the organization. I've never had any great fascination for the Indy cars. Formula One, it's just not something that you switch to this late in your career. So I think pretty much I'll stay where I am. I enjoy it. The action's there. This is a business, and the sponsorship is there, so I think I'm pretty happy where I am.
So there we have a look at Jim Busby, racer, organizer, team boss, business executive, getting results on the track and handling the pressure-packed world of commerce. A man on the move, accelerating in the fast lane. We'll be back with more of the action at Pocono right after this. Jaguar getting by Craig Carter's Camaro. Curly Haywood at the controls. Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. Now let's go down to Mike Brockman in pit row.
Brian, you've waited a long time for your pit stop. Can you possibly make it on one pit stop?
Well, it was looking quite close, but we don't think we can. Our car, that's car number 04, which I should be driving right now, but have been replaced by Chip Robinson because he's higher up in the points standings. We've had a fuel pressure problem on the banking during qualifying, and to get round the problem, we had to do away with our emergency reserve system. So we have to run the race on calculated fuel mileage and not depend, as we usually do, on the fuel reserve. Normally we wait till the engine misfires and then we hit the reserve switch, and we know that we can run about 2 laps like that. Today, car 04 can't do that because of the problem that we had during qualifying. So we can't go the distance, and we'll have to stop just before the end of the race, hopefully for about 10 seconds to take on 10 gallons of fuel.
Okay, Brian, thank you.
Thank you.
That has to be disappointing to realize that you can't do it.
Yeah, that's too bad, John. And of course, up here, we thought Brian was in the car. We are told and we're notified who's going to drive and who's going to get in when, and things are going to happen. But of course, the thing we can't know is that a last-minute change has changed the driver in that car. Chip Robinson is in there. You may have heard that Brian Redmond alluded to the fact that Chip was in because he's higher up in the point standings. IMSA pays off a lot of money through the courtesy of R.J. Reynolds and Camel Cigarettes at the end of the year to the Drivers' Point Fund. Chip Robinson is higher than anybody in the Jaguar team. So if that car finishes high today, it moves Chip up. It's a nice thing for Chip. It's a little bit of a discouragement for Brian, but as you could see, a gentleman sits there and makes the best of it.
And Chip, of course, is one of the up-and-coming American drivers. This is his first year in IMSA, and he's acquitted himself extremely well.
Oh, he has. He's doing very, very well. Whitney Gans has moved back into second place. We had him in first place for a while, but now he's running second behind the Jaguar, still running extremely well. Very, very strong.
Here's a look at our timing and scoring person. Judy Stroop is one of the very best in the business. We'll be back with more action here at Pocono right after we pause for these matches. For the closing stages of this IMSA GT race, and man, have we got some competition. Al Holbert is running down Chip Robinson. There's Chip in the lead in the Jaguar. And look at that, he's getting way below these other cars. He's desperate to stay ahead. Al Holbert is cutting off 2-3 seconds a lap. There is Chip Robinson down the front straightaway, and here comes Holbert onto the front straightaway.
9 seconds is separating these two cars, and Al Holbert has plenty of time to reel him in. Chip Robinson knows it. This is why you see he's taking chances. Remember, they want to win. Here's the Lowenbrow team giving
the pit board.
Al Holbert the signals. -9 seconds. The top one is his last lap was 1 minute 16 seconds. It means he's 9 seconds behind the leader. 10 laps to go. That's what that pit sign meant. And here's Al Holbert, number 2, wants to win. Being second is nothing. He wants to win this race. He's running down Chip Robinson at over 1 second a lap. He has the time.
Now remember also, the driver's seat is loose in the Holbert car, and they're also experiencing very high temperatures out of the gearbox. So that can be a critical point to keep in mind.
Chip Robinson, here he is, leading the race. They'd love to win this thing. They didn't think they had a chance. They were out-qualified by over 3 seconds by the 962s, but that Jaguar is working good. Look at this. He goes below Baldy in the Bruce Levin 962. Goes through the bank, drives it almost anywhere he wants. The last lap we saw him go low behind a guy. Now he comes up behind the Buick.
There's a relationship. There is Holbert, his headlights on, and he's flashing his lights at some cars saying, move over, get out of the way, I'm coming.
It's amazing that these cars can race for 2.5 hours, and here we see them only 9 seconds apart, and unless something happens, that's down to 7 seconds on that last lap. 4 seconds. 4 seconds on that last time by. And remember, Al Holbert can see Chip Robinson. Chip Robinson's in front of him, but Chip Robinson cannot see Al. Those mirrors are not as good as they can be to the rear. It's not like your street car. When he looks back, he sees a Bruce Levin car. He knows Holbert's back there, but he doesn't know where. Holbert can see him. There it is, 4 seconds. 8 laps to go. The boss is at the wheel. Come on, Chip. Get that cat going. He's after you.
Chip has won a lot of races in Super B, but he's never won one in this category of racing, and he sure would like to taste the sweet fruits of victory.
Well, he's driving hard. He's driving aggressive, and this is going to be a spectacular race no matter who wins.
There's Holbert, headlights on.
Robinson gets into turn 1 in good shape. Holbert has some traffic in front of him. See Robinson coming around into turn 2, then Baldy behind him, and then the RC Cola car, and there's Al Holbert. 2 cars between him and Chip Robinson. Remember, those cars in front of them, they're not sure what's going on. They don't know exactly what position Al Holbert's in, and they're under no obligation to move over. They can make life difficult for Al, not necessarily doing it intentionally, but it can cause a little bit of a problem. Chip Robinson car goes by a slower car onto the straightaway clean and clear, and on his way. Keep it going, Chip. You know that he knows there's only 9 laps left to go, and that guy's on his tail, John.
If there is any time to turn up the boost in that Porsche, I would expect that this is the time.
John, I'll tell you what. Right now, I don't care who wins. My vote for the Norelco Cup is Chip Robinson. I'm going to give it to Chip.
That's right. Me too. I agree with that. The Norelco Drivers' Cup, if you're not familiar with it, is a new award in the Campbell GT Series this year. And the championship is really starting to heat up as the season comes down. It's awarded to the GTP driver who gives the best driving performance of the race in the eyes of the voting motorsports media. Derek Bell has won twice, and Holbert has as well. Drake Olson, Bob Wallach, Bobby Ray Hall. Those are some of the winners. They have a year-end award of $15,000. We're voting for Chip Robinson this time around, but Al Holbert is closing in. And we'll be back for more of the action here at Pocono after we pause for this.
Chip Robinson driving hard. He's in the apexes. He's in the dirt. He's passing high. He's passing low. He's doing everything he can to keep that Jaguar in the lead.
6 laps left, 3 seconds down.
No matter what happens, the nice thing is Jaguar never expected to be in this position. They never thought they could run with the 962s.
This was a Porsche track, or perhaps the Buick track because of their horsepower, but not a Jaguar track, and we have seen a great show here today.
That is absolutely right. Great driving, aggressive driving, hard driving. Many times these races end up a couple laps from the end. There's some guy a half a mile ahead. Here we are. We're going to end up maybe with a tie.
Not if Al Holbert's got anything to do with it. He's got his sights set on him.
Now Chip can see him. When he looks back there, he'll see that number 14 car. He can identify it by the front.
Does that take away, when he can see that car behind him, does that give him a negative effect in his attitude?
Well, it shouldn't. Chip has driven a lot, and I think he can put that out of his mind, probably 90%. But you know, you can't totally.
Let's go down to Mike Brockman now.
You know, I can see the tension on the faces of these crew chiefs and the crew members. Guys are pacing up and down. They're biting their fingernails. All except Bob Tullius. He looks like he's just so mesmerized he can't move at all. They're waiting for this finish. It's going to be fantastic. Back to you, John.
There they are in the back straight, heading for the banking once again. Chip Robinson staying out in front, threading his way past slower traffic. And here comes Holbert.
Down low. Oh, Holbert's in the pits. No, he didn't.
No, he's pulled down low, and he's going by.
Can you believe
what
that
a move?
Can you believe that?
Holbert takes the lead on an extraordinary move.
Phenomenal. That car was ahead of him. He took a chance, went down low, passed him, and takes the lead. He picked up 2.5 seconds on that last lap, John.
That is a show of what experience does. Al Holbert knows the 962. He knows this course. He knows what he can do.
Well, he's done a fantastic job. I thought he made a mistake making a driver change, but obviously I was wrong. Al is driving this car hard. As I said earlier, he wants to win the race. Coming in second is nothing. I mean, second is great. You beat everybody else, but drivers want to win races. They don't want to come in second. But don't count out Chip yet.
Now we go down to Steve Grad with Derek Bell.
Yeah. Derek, comment on your partner's maneuver to take the lead.
Well, it was really great. He just took the low line. The other guy got held up on the top of the banking and had to back off, and now went through. Still another 3 laps to go, so nothing, I won't believe it until I see that flag.
And we've just been notified that Chip has won his first ever Norelco Drivers' Cup for an outstanding driving performance. The media agreed with us.
I think Bob Tullius right about now is pretty happy he brought Chip Robinson aboard. He's really shown that he's a darn good driver. He's shown he's good under pressure. We've all known that, but sometimes a person has to be in this kind of condition to show just how great they are. And I think this establishes Chip Robinson as one of the great Camel GTP drivers today.
If this isn't the best IMSA race of the year, I'm not sure which one would be.
It's a good one.
Al Holbert stakes it out to the wall, gets by slower traffic.
You can see the distance the 962 is able to put on the Jaguar in the back. There's Bob Tullius, looking, watching, waiting, thinking.
You don't suppose he's trying to put a hex on Holbert, do you?
You bet he is.
Out of New Jersey, Chip Robinson, his first year in IMSA, impressed everybody with his short career in Super Bs. Lost that championship only to Arie Luyendyk late in the year. Now he is proving himself in IMSA with a fine performance here today, an award-winning performance. And Al Holbert shows what champions are made of.
Well, Chip's not giving up. He's hanging in there. Even though he's losing little by little, he's still driving hard. Al is having to push hard to stay out there, John, but like I said earlier, unless something unexpected happens, I don't think the Jaguar is going to reel in the Porsche. I don't think it has quite the horsepower to do it. There's about a 50 horsepower differential between those two cars, and it does show up on that straightaway. That Jaguar is just too fast. Here's the third place car, the Bruce Levin, Mauro Baldi, Bob Wallach driven car. He's done a fine job today. Good, solid third place automobile.
We'll be looking for more from the Bayside Disposal Team next year, as Bruce Levin was telling us about his plans for 86. 2 cars, he says, next year, he hopes. In the meantime, this is the man who some people say might retire at the end of this year, and he would certainly go out on top. We are in the last lap of this event. Al Holbert leads, Chip Robinson pursues.
1 lap to go. Jaguar guys have their fingers crossed, hoping for something to happen to Al.
Can the Porsche gearbox hold together with those high temperatures on this last lap? We shall see. It will shortly be answered.
Well, the Jaguar team did a darn good job. They had that problem early on in the race, but by golly, they'd come back and run strong. And of course, Al Holbert's had a great job. I wonder what they did to tie down that fire extinguisher.
I don't know. That was a complaint earlier, but they haven't been talking about that. Only the loose drivers team.
Must have somehow fixed it, thrown something in there. But this looks to me like Al Holbert's down around the big turn, around the corner, into the start-finish straight. And when he comes by us this time, John, I believe he's going to get the checker flag.
And with it, his 4th IMSA championship. Ladies and gentlemen, we are crowning a champion at the start-finish line. Al Holbert wins it, the 1985 IMSA GT champion. A come-from-behind drive, an absolutely outstanding performance, the kind of stuff of which championships are made.
However, the real come-from-behind drive was Chip Robinson, who started in 8th place. Their car was 5 miles an hour faster or slower. They were 3 seconds slower in qualifying, and they pulled that thing in second. I think Chip Robinson did the great drive.
And Bruce Levin's car, handled by Bob Wallach and Mauro Baldi, took 3rd place here today. A fine performance from the Levin group. We'll be back to talk with the winner. There are the unofficial results. We'll have our winners' interviews right after this. There's Mike. Let's go down to Mike Brockman for the winner's interview.
Al, what a way to win a championship. You had the fans on their feet. It was an incredible finish.
Well, I'll say. All I can say is praise God.
Tell us about the seat. That had to be a problem for you, and you had a loose fire extinguisher? The seat is absolutely loose. Al, it was an incredible job.
Well, I really have to thank my guys. And it's our car. We built it new, and there's a couple things that we didn't know how to do, and the things broke. Derek did a fantastic job. And I guess all in all, I got to thank that number 29 Camaro for putting Chip into the wall.
So the final laps, Chip did have some problems?
Yeah, that red Camaro just pushed him right up to the wall down there in the bowl. You know, and he must have lost 3 seconds right there. And
now, what was your move when you came way down low? Was that when that incident took place?
Yeah, I saw Chip. Chip did a beautiful job. Whoever was in the car did a beautiful job of sizing him up and figuring out where it's going to be. And he got it slowed down and got it set, and got it committed to the throttle. Started around the guy on the outside, and the guy just moved the whole lane up. And Chip got up in the marbles. Did a wonderful job of keeping it off the wall.
Al, you've had an incredible year, and you're a great champion. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. And I just have to thank Lowenbrow, of course, and Bosch, Quaker State, and my guys especially, and I praise the Lord.
Okay, thank you, Al.
Our congratulations to Al Holbert on winning this event here at Pocono and the 1985 IMSA GT Championship. And to Chip Robinson for putting on a performance that everyone will remember for a long time to come. Now let's take a look at the final results here at Pocono. The winners and the champion, Al Holbert with his partner Derek Bell. Chip Robinson in the Jaguar, a great job. The team of Bob Wallach and Mauro Baldi came in 3rd. And John Morton and Pete Halsmer, the pole sitters today, finished up in 4th place. Now, the overall point standings, with the championship clinched by Holbert. Derek Bell, of course, still in second place. Chip Robinson moves up some more with adding to his total. Pete Halsmer has displaced Hurley Haywood for fourth place. Bergie, give me an idea of your comments for this race today.
Well, we saw a 9:62 parade right at the start. We saw Pete Halsmer take off, run very strong. Al Holbert followed very closely. Al Holbert led a little while. Halsmer came back. Then the 68 B.F. Goodrich car had a little bit of problems. They came in and fell back. Then Holbert stayed in the lead, and all of a sudden, here's the Jaguar. The show we never thought would happen, running second, then moves into the lead and led the race up until about the 5th lap from the end.
And that does it from here at Pocono. This is John Burchard for Bob Bergstrom, Mike Brockman, and Steve Grad and our hardworking crew. We thank you very much for looking in today. This IMSA GT race has been brought to you by B.F. Goodrich, makers of high-performance TA radials. We make cars perform. This has been a Cinevid Enterprises presentation.